I want to give a quick analogy, okay? And it's something that I can guarantee if you guys will implement what I'm going to teach you today and you will take what I'm going to teach you and you will go and do it, you guys will increase your closing percentage, okay? And you will become dangerous at sales. You will start to get to the point where your sales are predictable. You know when you get on a call, you're going to get that deal. Okay, so I'm going to give a quick analogy. Now, I want you to imagine for a second, well, let me just say it like this. If you've never done a sale, if you've never cold called anybody, don't be embarrassed, by the way. If you've never cold called anybody, you never asked anybody for money, I want you to comment and let me know in the comments. So guys, I want you to think about sales, and the analogy that I always use, and I talk about this inside Digital Landlords, is that sales is like baking a cake. Just hang with me because it's going to make sense, okay? When you bake a cake, assuming you have a perfect recipe for this amazing chocolate cake, this recipe is going to tell you exactly how much flour to put in, exactly how much sugar to put in, exactly how much butter to put in, exactly how much time to keep it in the oven. And more importantly, or as importantly, it's going to tell you in what order to do these steps. And if you guys are like me, my wife has some of these recipes that are like from her great grandma, and these cakes are like these ancient treasures, right? And they're like,
Oh, we got to use grandma's recipe to make Ebel skeevers.
something, it's these weird little doughy balls that you dip in sugar, right? Just very healthy. Good example. Or German pancakes, right? Oh, we got to use grandpa's German pancake recipe. It's so good. So imagine though that like you have this perfect recipe, and if you follow this recipe to a T, on the other side of that recipe, as soon as that oven beeps, you have this perfect cake, right? And I want you to imagine that a perfect cake is like a sale. The cake comes out and it's like a sale. And so you have the perfect recipe, you follow the perfect recipe to a T, you get a deal, or you have a perfect chocolate cake. And so you have to realize with sales, first and foremost, you guys are like, well, where's the recipe? Well, I'll tell you where the recipe is. It's inside Digital Landlords. I have the perfect recipe. I've perfected it. I've spent 7 years perfecting it. Now, am I here to say I'm the only one that knows how to bake a chocolate cake or get a sale? No. You could come up with your own recipe, but it might take you 7 years. It might take you making 5,000 bad chocolate cakes. It might take you burning 300 of those chocolate cakes and spending thousands of dollars on flour and sugar and this and that and the rest. Or you could get the perfect recipe and it's inside of Digital Landlords, right? I'm just using the analogy. So I'm not saying I'm the only one that has, I don't have proprietary rights over a chocolate cake or over a sale, but I have a very perfect recipe for getting a 1,000, 2,000 beyond flat fee deal. That's what I teach. That's what I sell. That's what my program is, right? So I have the perfect recipe. Now, once again, you guys do not have to buy my recipe. You could go develop your own, but keep in mind, it took me 7 years to create my recipe. And we've seen many people that we bring on this live that have used my recipe and are getting deals. So guys, with sales, if you follow the recipe, you're going to get a deal. But with sales, we're dealing with humans, we're dealing with all kinds of different situations, and the situation and the circumstances aren't always going to be perfect. Using that analogy, sometimes you're going to go and you're going to open up the fridge and there's not going to be the right butter. It's going to be margarine instead of salted butter. It's going to be, the eggs are going to be a little bit old, or we're going to have an egg short, whatever, right? This would be the equivalent of like, all right, in my recipe, I know when I get them on a Zoom call, I have a super high chance of closing them. Have you ever had to get on the phone with somebody that's freaking on their phone in a gas station parking lot or driving their car? It's not ideal, but you do the best that you can. And sometimes that means you push it off and you reschedule. Sometimes you got to send it. The goal is that given what you have, sometimes you don't have as much butter as you need. Sometimes you don't have as much flour as you need. Sometimes you don't have as much sugar as you need, or sometimes it's a little bit old, or sometimes you have to mix this first instead of the way that it tells you to, and you do the best with what you have, because it's not going to be perfect, right? In a perfect situation, we would love to get 3 to 5 leads in a close, very tight period of time. They close a deal. We send them a screencast, Zoom, the wife's there, the spouse is there, but it's not always the case. And a lot of times we have to improvise. But the key is that if you have a recipe that works, okay, like I teach, all you got to do is stick as close to it as possible. And if you do that, you are going to have predictable deals.